gearing up to do some delicious baking here this morning, specifically fall-inspired recipes. We'll do some here this morning. As you can tell, we have some donuts ready to go. I actually had these rise overnight, was trying something new, and so far it looks like we might be onto something. So I will talk some more about this recipe. Once we get these going, I don't want them to over-rise. My hope is I put enough flour down. That's so important with donuts. You don't want them to start deflating. But this recipe looks very intimidating when you just look at it. So we'll talk about that here after a little bit. These are sourdough, long fermented, and ready to fry. So I have some coconut oil here, currently heated to about 365. So we're gonna fry these. And then tomorrow, I actually wanna do a whole bunch more of baking from scratch delicious recipes for fall. I'm just gonna use my bench scraper here to try to get it off of the table as undisturbed as possible. Hudson is helping me fry the donuts here. So in the meantime, I am gonna go ahead and mix the glaze. I'm trying something new with the glaze as well. We'll see how it turns out. I can leave the one down below that I have used previously. It's delicious. It gets that kind of crispy, crispy finish, kind of like a Krispy Kreme donut, but it uses powdered sugar. And I wanted to see if I could do one that would just be sweetened with maple syrup. So I have maple syrup here. We're gonna mix that with some butter, some water, some salt, some vanilla bean paste, and we'll cook that till it starts to thicken, and we'll see how that works to frost or glaze the donuts in that. I should probably stop trying new things when I'm filming, but this is the maple glaze. So it was very thin to start with, but I put it in my mixer and whipped it for a while, and now I think we have about the right consistency that I would usually use for a donut glaze. And then I also pulled out this is actually a pasta drying rack here. I just take some of the prongs out, and it's perfect for letting donuts drip dry. So we are gonna go ahead and start glazing these. Ideally, I like to glaze when the donuts are still warm. Josh taste tested this, and he said it's not like the other donut glaze, but I guess it's much more flavored. It has like a very maple-y taste. And so perfect for fall. It would also be fun to top these either with like an apple crumble or with some bacon, do like a Canadian maple and bacon. That would be delicious. This is what it looks like. So you can see it's pretty much exactly like a glaze consistency now. So we're gonna put it on here and then keep an eye on it and see if it actually dries crispy, because that's how I like my donuts to dry. We'll give it a couple minutes. Okay, it is a couple hours later now. We've finished our donuts, and well, I actually did run out of maple syrup in the end, so I do have a couple here that need glazed yet. I'll have to take care of that later, but it does seem like it's firming up a lot. It's not leaving any fingerprints. I don't know if it's quite as hard, which it might still get there. Well, it has a little bit of a crackle if you break it, so I would say it's similar to my normal glaze. Definitely set up, which is what I was looking for. It does not feel soft to the touch anymore. It might be just a hint like softer than my normal glaze that completely hardens, but I'm very happy with this. I will gladly take it, especially to not use all that powdered sugar. This is what our final outcome is. It is so exciting for me if you can make delicious food like this that's also nutritious. These are definitely healthy enough to eat for breakfast, so that's what we're going for. A couple little notes if you want to make these. If you look at the recipe, and I'll leave it for you linked in the description box below, this recipe is like 5 to 8 pages long, so it's very intimidating to look at. I thought of doing a step-by-step, but then this was actually an experiment with trying a little bit differently with times, because in the recipe it'll tell you like, this rise is from 6:30 until 1:57. I feel like that almost makes it more confusing to me that it has all the times listed by time because of how long of a process it is. Maybe for some people that would be helpful, I don't know. For me, it just made it feel all the more intimidating. So what I did is I actually started these donuts. I mixed the dough 2 days ago in the afternoon, and then they have an immediate 6-hour rise at room temperature. So I did that, and then I put them in the fridge overnight. Dough actually stayed in the fridge all of yesterday until yesterday, right before I went to bed. I rolled these out, shaped them, and then they sat on the counter like you saw when I first started this morning. They were rising all night long. They need about a 12-hour rise time. I would say 10 to 12, but right around there, and then I could fry them in the morning. So in my mind, it might be confusing if you're just listening to this. You can look at the recipe if you want to follow it exactly like it says, go for it. To me, that was very confusing and kind of overwhelming. I've made these numerous times before, but I haven't made them more often because of that fact that it's so complicated to get the times. So for me, it's made it much simpler to just know, okay, I need to start my batter 6 to 7 hours before I am gonna go to bed. I'll let it rest at room temperature for 6 hours, pop it in the fridge, let it in the fridge the whole next day until bedtime again, roll them out, let them rise overnight, and the next morning fry them. So donuts are never gonna be the easiest thing to make. I'm sure they're not like whipping up a batch of cookies. You still need a little bit of prep time, but for me, this feels very doable. They freeze beautifully, so they're a great thing to have in the freezer and have on hand if you have company. But that's enough talk about the donuts. Let's just see the crumb of these because we have not actually dove in. Do you see that? What? That looks so good. That is a perfect crumb. Let's try them. Oh wow, I love that maple. This is definitely something that I want to make more of in the future, play around with different flavors. I would say this glaze isn't as sweet naturally as one that has a ton of icing sugar, which I love for us, but it's something you can play around with, and hopefully that's helpful. Well, those donuts were very enjoyed yesterday. Huge hit, so definitely want to be making those again this fall. But last evening, I started mixing quite a few other doughs, different fall baking things that I thought would be really fun to do today. So I haven't completely mixed them. Basically what I did was a lot of these, I just took the sourdough starter and then basically whatever else that wasn't baking powder, baking soda, I like to add those later. And then things like eggs, I always feel a little bit unsure about adding those for a room temperature overnight rise. I know some people do it, some people don't do it. I'll add them if I'm putting my dough in the fridge, but since I wanted them fermented at room temperature, I decided to just add those this morning. So I'm starting off here with what's actually going to be the kids' breakfast, which is some pumpkin chocolate chunk muffins. This is such a moist pumpkin recipe, so I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs yet, and then we'll chop up the chocolate here. I'm using Lily's salted almond extra dark chocolate, and we'll add that and then go ahead and bake this. You gonna help? Okay. Now stir these eggs in well, and then we're gonna chop up the chocolate.
Should I chop up it?
I did go ahead and whisk this, by the way, before I got started in my mixer, because the dough does get pretty stiff from sitting like that overnight. But it's nice, and I don't know if you can see, I have my Danish whisk here. It's nice and soft and moist now, so all we need is the chocolate. If that's too hard, maybe you want to put these. Ooh, good job. Okay, thank you. Okay. About 1 more cup, and then we have 4 cups in there. Muffins is in the oven, and by the looks of things we'll have at least another 1 or 2 to go, but those are smelling so delicious. And speaking of good smelling things, I am so excited about Antique Candle Company's Christmas collection. It is so good. Tree Farm here, by the way, is in that collection. And if you have like an artificial tree, this will make your house smell like you have all the live greenery in the world. I burnt this so much last Christmas and got so many compliments on it. Highly recommend this one. Antique Candle Company is sponsoring today's video. My discount code Golden Hour 20 is good on their entire website. But I specifically want to point out some of these delicious smelling Christmas candles. Now, one of their new ones, so ones like Tree Farm are available on the website. They are well known. People love this one. But this year, one of their new ones is sweet orange and clove. I think this one smells delicious. And this one actually sold like crazy the day it was already launched. So this is looking very promising as possibly a bestseller this year. And then I also have some other awesome ones. There's Christmas Day Holiday Spice, which is another new one. Of course, Tree Farm, you gotta get this one at least once. And then Home for the Holidays. So as I keep saying, but it's truly so important to me, your candles do matter, and these have clean wick, clean wax, clean scents. They are a clean soy candle poured right here in the US, and they would make such good Christmas gifts for that reason, but also their happiness guarantee is good on candles you get personally, but also on candles that you're gifting. Basically what that means is if you do not absolutely love a scent that you've got, they will actually replace that one and send you a brand new one of your choice, because their customer happiness is so important, and I really appreciate that about them. If you spend $200 or more, you'll get a free spiced cranberry pumpkin, which is another one in the Christmas collection, and it's the one I'm burning here today. So super fun. My discount code Golden Hour 20 will get you 20% off your entire order. I hope that helps you out and maybe eases your Christmas shopping a little bit as well. Okay, I have a very happy little artisan loaf, I guess happy. It is very time to get this one in the oven. And once again, I went ahead and trialed a recipe. First time on video. I really need to get better with first knowing what I'm doing and then sharing it. But I saw a recipe online that kind of inspired this. Maybe I can link that one for you. I'm not sure if this one will turn out yet, obviously. But basically, it's an apple loaf. It has shredded apple in it. It has apple butter in it. If it turns out, it will be absolutely delicious. So I'm just gonna go about like I would normally do an artisan loaf. We'll do these stretches and then let it rest. All right, we'll let it sit for 10 minutes and then we'll pull it tight. So we have our pumpkin muffins. We definitely have some delicious apple things up our sleeve here, but I was trying to think what other fall flavors are there that are not pumpkin or apple. And then yesterday we already had the maple, so I'm trying to pull as many fall flavors, right? Got to thinking and I was like, s'mores, that is such a fun fall thing. And so I mixed up last evening another batter. This is a sourdough chocolate cake. So I did the same method as I had before. The recipe doesn't say to do overnight fermentation. So I just added everything except for the eggs, the baking powder, and then coffee actually, which if you don't know, coffee just gives a chocolate cake a much richer flavor. So I'm gonna add 2 cups of coffee into this, and then this will be ready to bake as well. We'll make it a s'mores cake with our toppings and fillings then. Starting to get a little backed up on the stove here, so these will have to sit a little bit, but I did want to show you the consistency of this batter is kind of like a chocolate ganache. It's a fairly thin batter, but it always turns out so moist and delicious. So I'm going to put that into pans here. I just have these little, what are they, 6-inch probably pans, and I have 3 of them here. I'm not sure if I'll have too much batter for that. If I do, I'll probably just turn the rest of them into muffins. And then we'll shift to something that we're not waiting on the oven for next. We're gonna tap them on the counter a couple times to remove any air pockets, and then they're ready to bake. Our apple artisan loaf is ready to be put in the oven. I had the Dutch oven in there at 500 for about half an hour. So we're gonna flip this over. I'm so curious how this is gonna turn out. I'm gonna dust this with flour like usual. And then I also have some ground cinnamon here that I thought would be fun just to enhance all those fall flavors. Cinnamon goes so well with apple, and so we'll also dust it with a little bit of that. Yesterday we made donuts. The day before yesterday in the evening, I think we finished at like 11, I made croissants, froze some. We actually are planning to be camping with friends this weekend, and so we want to have fresh croissants then. But I baked some of them a while, and so I thought it would be fun to turn these into a bit of a fall treat. I have some apples here. And then I also mixed up some pastry cream late last evening so that it could be cool in time to fill these. So my plan is to make kind of like an apple compote. So I'm just cutting slits right in the top of my croissants like this. You can already see a little peek at those layers. I like to do it lengthwise like this. I just feel like it's a little bit more of a showstopper that way when they're filled. And then we will fill them with the apple, caramelized apple situation and top it with some pastry cream. Maybe we should even make some honey salted caramel. I'm thinking that would be so fun to drizzle over top. So while we wait on our oven here to catch up with all of our baked things, we have quite a lineup here, we'll work on filling these. And I'll leave the recipe for these croissants for you down below. I've shown it on my channel a couple of times, the actual process of making them, but if you are looking for that recipe, I'll leave that for you down there as well. Waiting for the caramelized apple and the salted caramel to cool. So I'm gonna actually set these aside again. On these bake days, there's often so many moving parts, but in the end, it all comes together and you end up having all these delicious baked goods to dive into and share with the neighbors and all of that. Last night, I also mixed some sourdough pie crust. I want to use part of this for something else, but part of it I do want to turn into an actual like pie slash tart situation. So I'm just gonna take a little part of this off, we'll roll it out and then turn this into like a pear tart. We kind of accidentally came across doing pies this way, and it's not necessarily a company pie or a super fancy one at all. It's very, very simple, but it's not super sweet, which I love, and it's just something super easy to throw together at the last minute if you're wanting something sweet. We did this first with peaches, which was super good. Could do it with apples. We're doing it with pears today. I thought that would be a fun little twist. This is the time of year when we have local pears, but I'm just gonna slice these thinly and then we'll arrange them on here. Trying to think, there would be so many ways to arrange them, but I think I'll just do a pretty simple, kind of making it look like a lot of little pears on the pie. Blender. Then I don't measure this, I just pour a bit of heavy cream over top the pears, as well as some honey, which isn't quite runny yet. I'm just heating that a little bit so I can actually drizzle it on, and then I'll also sprinkle with a little bit of cinnamon, and then we'll bake it at 350. filled, which means it's go time for the croissants now. So we'll put, I don't know, a spoon or two of these and then pipe the pastry cream. Okay, I'm putting together a chocolate ganache here for our s'more cake. I think we're gonna make the ganache. I just have some heavy cream that's heated. I'm adding some more of this Lily's dark chocolate to it. We're gonna let that do its thing, turn into a nice, smooth, creamy ganache. Then I think I'll actually whip the ganache and use that for between my cake layers. So while I wait on this, I'm gonna make a homemade marshmallow fluff. Where did I leave my recipe? It's right here. I'm just gonna throw this together since I am running out of time and it takes a lot longer to film everything, but I will leave the recipe for you in the description box as well. Okay, we have our marshmallow fluff, and how fun is this? It's so fun to play with. Anyways, we're gonna put this in my bowl, and then I'm hoping my chocolate ganache thickens a little bit. I guess I didn't think of that possibly with Lily's chocolate as like a healthier version, if it would act differently, but I'm gonna try whipping it. Hopefully it gives me a good consistency, and then we'll start stacking our layers here. Okay guys, I'm having a little trouble with my ganache. I whipped it, it's still thinner than I would like. So I think what I'm gonna do is just put a thin layer on here because I don't want it oozing out the sides onto everything, but we'll still get a little bit of that, really just a difference in texture when you take that bite into the cake. And then we'll put the next layer on. You can see it a little bit on the sides. Wow, my mixing bowl is dirty. All right, and then top layer goes on upside down, right? No, I'm gonna do right side up. Okay, yeah, you can definitely tell it would wanna ooze. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is just clean up a little bit and then get to the fun part, which is the marshmallow fluff. By the way, I used a maple syrup in this marshmallow fluff. The recipe that I was kind of referencing said to do corn syrup, but it obviously also works this way. I'm gonna come in with a smaller spoon now and just make some little dips in here. There's a reason I do not do cakes on here very often. Okay, and now for the whole reason I ever make a meringue cake. Almost. They also taste delicious, but I get to play with fire and I love it. So I don't have like a little kitchen torch, but I've done it multiple times just with our other torch that we use to light the fireplace. You just obviously don't want to touch the end on your cake. But now we're gonna go around and just torch this whole thing. This is when the magic happens, when it's so fun to share with guests and all of that, because it looks so much more impressive than actually the amount of work that you put into it. Now, if you're a cake decorator, such as my sister, if she's watching this, she's probably like, Steph, that is not the most impressive. And I agree, like you could probably do a much better job with the actual designs and like neatness of all of this. I mean, it just kind of looks like a big marshmallow, right? That's kind of what I was, maybe I'll clean up the edges yet. I don't know, should I clean up the edges? Doesn't matter. I don't know. But anyways, we're gonna torch this now and then it'll be done. And there we have it. There's our s'mores cake. But obviously we could put so many toppings on here yet, but I am seriously so out of time. So I'm gonna leave it like this for today. Well, what a fun little baking marathon. I hope that gave you some inspiration for your fall baking in your own kitchen. I would love to hear what you are whipping up for those that you love. Don't forget to check out Antique Candle Company if you are looking to add some delicious scents to your home or to your Christmas gift list. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, friends.
Golden, golden thing.